I think privileged to be in this revitalized or rejuvenated or re-equipped studio.
Also, the last time you appeared here, it was the old studio, right?
It was the old.
But that place is also transformed as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but it's good to have you. Last Thursday, October 13, 2022, was observed as globally as International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, and Liberia observed us with a program organized by uh, your organization, your agency, the National Disaster Management Agency. But when we talk the International Day for Disaster Risk Management, uh, what are we talking about? What brings to our memories?
Well, for every, let's say, international protocol or agreement, the day that agreement or protocol was on, the United Nations somehow craft an agreement that that day should be observed. So for the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction Secretariat and the UN, the International Day is celebrated on October 13th of each year. And for this year, we are really looking at what we call target G of the sender framework.
Okay.
The sender framework is a principle or is the Bible that we use when in regards to disaster risk reduction. So for this year, our let's say theme is international theme is substantially increase the availability of and access to multi-hazard early warning system and disaster risk information assessment to people by 2030. When this happens nationally, we also domesticate this, and for us, we choose strengthening the synergies of multi-hazard early warning systems with the National Early Warning and Emergency Operating Center
Okay.
that we have at the NDMA.
Okay, so you said something about the national multi-hazard and contingency plan. What is the significance of that plan?
Well, the multi-hazard contingency plan really is a mechanism or is a modality put together. We have priority areas that we deal
Who
with.
developed it?
The NDMA and partners.
Okay.
Um, we we have priority the hazards that we have identified that are very frequent in Liberia. So the multi-hazard plan was developed looking at those issues like flood, windstorm, erosion, epidemics, pest infestation,
And these are
fire.
common disasters.
These are disasters that are really um, prone to Liberia. So we consider this, and to put this document together is something like a Bible that
Okay.
we tell partners what to do. Okay, for instance, we have the health aspect there for epidemics. If anything happens, that portion is referred to, and all of the requirements, the mechanisms, the modalities to tackle that area is in that plan.
Okay.
Pest infestation, which is let's say is a sector that agriculture deals with, is also in that document. So when anything occurs in that light, then we get to the multi-contingency plan, and we look at what we're supposed to do there, the past the partner's supposed to play, etc. So it's a very important tool, very,
Okay.
very important platform that brings all of the partners together.
And uh, is it developed now? And how long did it take to actually complete the development of that plan?
Well, it took some time, but I mean, um, success. I think when I graduated, somebody sent some con- congratulatory message to me. Success is not where you have reached, but how far you travel to reach to where you are.
Okay.
So it has been a long time, but at least what we have now is what we intended to have. So that have been produced, and I think we can join the community of nations to say that Liberia too have produced a multi-hazard contingency plan.
So, in terms of implementing the national multi-hazard and contingency plan, when do we see a practical implementation of that plan by the NDMA?
Well, it will be the involvement of partners and sector-wise. For instance, if any hazard occurs in the health sector, we get together on a platform and we discuss issues. We have so many sectors and everybody have their part to play
Mm.
according to,
But the
let's say,
NDMA bears greater responsibility in the
yeah,
implementation.
yeah, we coordinate all of the activities. In fact, the National Disaster Management Agency was established to implement the policy, coordinate the national disaster system, incorporate state and non-state actors at national, county, district, and chiefdom levels.
Mm.
And we handle disaster-related issues to ensure reduced vulnerabilities to natural and human-induced hazards. So if you look at what I've just read, I mean, we look at all the sectors, we coordinate the sectors, we bring them together, and I think this is our mandate.
What's the duration of this plan? Does it have a lifespan of 4 or 5 years?
Well, it will go forever, but we would be amending it, okay? Looking at issues as issues emerge, we call them emerging issues.
Mm.
As they emerge, they will be incorporated. And also, yeah, emerging issues. Because see, when we talk about disasters, for some countries, they have their priority. Pakistan now, what is your priority? They will tell you flooding. That goes also with Liberia. If you have some countries like, anyway, flooding is widespread, but fire too is competing with flooding, conflict, competing, because if you look at the African, the sub-region, a lot of conflict, and when conflict happens, people are dying. So that serious conflict is an hazard and it results to disaster.
Mm.
So as these incidences occur, we'll amend this document.
Does this document uh, talk about response? Response, because response has been an issue for the NDMA. How you respond to, uh, a given disaster can also determine how you curtail, the effect. So in terms of response, what does the document say?
In terms of response, it also entails responsibilities to partners, okay? What we need to do
So
as
response
as a
is
team.
being shifted to the partners.
No. I said the involvement of partners.
Mm.
Because-
Seems as if you
because I tell you what-
It seems as if you heavily reliant on partners.
No. Even though I would say yes, but again, the bone of response is the NDMA. We put everything together, we have a platform, any issue that occurs, we coordinate and we look for mechanisms to alleviate the incident. For instance, when disasters take place,
Mm.
I mean, people are affected in so many forms. So we try to look for what would alleviate their sufferings, or yeah,
And what are those things?
Yeah, for instance, when disaster takes place, for instance, let's take flooding,
which is common.
which is common.
Is that the common,
People
disaster in Liberia?
in Liberia,
Okay,
people need to be.
but it's seasonal anyway.
It's seasonal, but it's common. People need to be relocated. Items that are lost need to be given to them, even though we cannot give all, but we give some, like simple thing, like items like mattresses for them to sleep on, quills to keep them warm. Sometimes we even, if we have, let's say, food ration, we give them food ration, and some other non-food items like mosquito nets, etc. I mean, just to, like for instance, when flooding stroke erosion took place in Yucatan, we went further by even those that were affected by even paying the rents for the victims and even giving them amounts for them to do petty business, just to keep them up. And that is very, very, I mean, that should be highlighted. So I really want to thank the government for permitting us to look at such mechanisms to cater to victims.
Okay. Just before we go to the DRR gender policy, when is the National Multi-Hazard Contingency Plan document expected to be launched?
Oh, it has been launched.
It has been launched.
It was launched on the 13th.
Oh, okay.
On
During the
day-
International Day.
during the celebration, and I want to say a big appreciation to the Ministry of Defense because they launched that document.
Why the Defense Ministry?
But the defense they are part of the board, and apart from being part of the board, they are, let's say, one of our key partners in terms of response. When disasters take place, there are some critical areas that you cannot go to or attempt to go to, and the armed forces is us in that respect.
Okay.
And if they have, let's say, facilities, infrastructure, they help us. So they are key allies, key partners to the NDMA.
So we can safely say the plan is in effect.
It's in effect.
Okay. Now, what will make it successful?
Well, as I said, is the supervisory role or coordination role that the NDMA will play. I mean, we have to be vigilant and we have to use all of our, let's say, expertise to bring partners together. Because there are a lot of, you have to be able to maneuver, you have to be able to, there are so many attributes. You lobby, you maneuver, you convince partners that yes, this is important. And one thing I really want to let, let's say, as we are talking about partners,
Yeah, go ahead.
partners know that disaster cannot be managed by one entity. Then I go further by saying that disaster cannot be handled by a single country. When it happens in Pakistan, other countries are going to help. It happens in India, other countries are going to help. It happens in, so we will hope that as we, let's say, put our sub-regional platform, DRR platform together, which is, of course, is operating, we'll have that capacity, that is the word, we'll have that capacity to help member states.
Okay. Now let's talk the DRR gender policy, the launch of the DRR gender policy. What is the DRR?
The DRR is disaster risk reduction.
Okay.
And we are farsighted, not we are farsighted to know.
Was it launched too on the 13th?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of documents were launched.
Yeah, a lot of activities took place which I will talk on.
Yeah.
The gender policy is a policy to help us to respond gender-wise. You know, when disasters take place, the female, let me get to the female, even though the male too are affected, they are vulnerable.
Okay.
Okay, when disasters take place, essential needs are looked for by women. Maybe in the night they get out and they have some disenchanted men that go after them. So you find out that when disasters take place, expect, sorry to say, issues of rape, then that is the spread of diseases. So, and even sometimes the victims are killed. So it's very serious. So we put a mechanism together or modality on how we can lessen, let's say, those incidences that happen gender-wise, let's say with women, and even as I said, even with men, because for if you want to look at the categories, even men, they have little kids,
Okay.
okay, that can be affected. But
So this particular policy will
so this
look
policy
at women.
is looking at really directed to women and children.
Okay.
So it will tell
But it
us,
is inclusive of the plan.
it is inclusive.
Okay.
And we even have an action plan that's supposed to tell us certain activities to do, like have trainings, psychosocial trainings, etc., etc. Because we really want for women to be protected. I think that is the word.
Okay.
So this Bible that we launched, we want to say thank you to the UN Women for all their assistance, and we hope that the partnership will grow. They are a very good partner to the NDMA.
And talking about partners, who are your partners? How many partners does the MDMA have?
Well, we have so many partners. You know, sometimes when
But you have leading partners.
we have leading partners,
Okay.
but sometimes it's good to be, you know, you take everybody on board. But
You don't want to call names.
but no,
About a-
no, I will call names.
Okay.
I mean the major ones are, let's say, I would say the UNDP,
Okay.
because even the multi-hazard EOC that we are talking about now was made possible
Through UNDP.
through UNDP. And even where we are today, I can tell you that we started in a one-room office, but the UNDP made it possible for us to be in that building today, and they are doing a whole lot. And the conviction that they should be involved in disaster is shown daily. Then we also have partners. I mean, we have, like, they might not be as big as the UNDP, but a partner like, let's say, CRS.
And they are all contributing.
Yeah, they contributed. They are contributing. In fact, the CRS is active on the field now, giving out cash transfer to victims, and we have the RC that have just, let's say, signed a project, that's a contract with the NDMA to take care of almost 1,000 households that will benefit from humanitarian items, etc. So we have these partners.
Okay. Now, also launched was the National Early Warning and Emergency Operating Center. Let's look at our center. What is it all about?
Yeah, this is the center. I mean, this is the cross, or it was the bigger one,
Okay.
because for disasters to really properly be taken care of, we need to be warned, early warning. We have a new phenomenon now that we call anticipation action. For you to take or counter or plan for anticipation action, you should be warned. So the early warning system is a very important tool that we have.
Okay.
We have a database system that was also procured by the UNDP. So that helps us to let's say harmonize our data that can be fed into the EOC. Now, the EOC operates is sectorial, because as I said, multi-hazard. So if there's any let's say issue in your sector, that is fed into our system. As we
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. 1 minute.
as we are trying to transform, we will have little, I always call it a little petty EOC in all of the counties too. That will be feeding the main EOC.
Okay.
So we'll receive, for instance, even the PH EOC, the public health EOC, they will be sending us information. And in fact, we have sites, or we have areas that they will be using in the EOC facility. Okay, so you will not say, I don't have a laptop, I don't have means of, sending messages or sending information. You can go right to the EOC. We have stations, okay, sectorial stations that the Ministry of Health, if you have information, you see there. Transport Ministry, you see there. And all those that really have information or data for us to share.
Okay. So, what are the disasters that this center will be able to detect? I don't know if it will be able to detect fire disaster, maybe because of flooding is temperature wise, so it will be able to detect, the temperature. But what about fire? What are the disasters?
Well, the EOC will not really detect the the disasters, but we have other mechanisms that in the future we will be using to detect all of these hazards.
Okay.
Okay, and that will be done nationwide. I think we have had the capacity now through the Japanese project that have been produced, that we can, let's say, assess all of these natural disasters or even man-made disasters and relate or send information directly to the main EOC that is located at the NDMA. So sector-wise, I mean, we'll be relying on partners, but also you see sometimes when they say rely or work with partners to have their own duties, they have their own work to do, they have their own limitations, but the main institution like the NDMA, the capacity of the NDMA needs to be built. So because we coordinate, we harmonize, and we give out the message.
Okay. And in terms of, maybe the technical support, what needs to keep the center running smoothly, where are we with that?
Well, we are also grateful to the, let's say, Japanese program, because for you to.
Is it a one center, or we'll have several centers across?
No, for now we are concentrating on that one center
At the headquarters?
at the headquarters,
Okay.
and the capacity of that is being built, and the Japanese government saw it fit that because they are trying to respond to flooding and erosion, and when you are doing that, you need information. So right now we are enjoying, let's say, a 3-year internet subscription that have been paid for by the project, and even the website, which is very important because we need to share information with the world.
Okay.
That has been paid for about 10 years, and to make the EOC really functional, we have a battery bank that will be installed at the agency. So in terms of, let's say, power outage or something, that battery bank will keep that system running because it needs to be running 24 hours.
Okay.
So we have really they have supplied like for instance the last time they donated the 15 motorbikes to be used in all of the counties. So those will be used by the data collectors, so that will enhance the operation of the EOC.
So you have a room there with all of your equipment.
There is a room with a dashboard that can give you the result. Then there are, as I said, there are areas, let's say, sites that each of these contributors will use. So, as I said, it is multi-hazard oriented, sectorial oriented. So these duty stations from individuals, our partners,
Okay.
because they need to supply us. This is why, as I said, I'm always looking at the multi-hazard nature. Okay, it's not only flooding. Flooding will take care of flooding, but epidemics, the Ministry of Health, let's say the health sector. Okay, pest infestation, agriculture, fire, the fire service. Um, we have conflict.
Okay.
That is also looked at by the joint security, and we work together. So work as a partner.
Okay. Now, let's talk about what we expect from the National Disaster Management Agency with regards to the logistical support you've getting from is that UNOPS?
Yeah, UNOPS.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
UNOPS through the
Well,
Japanese government.
we're talking about $1.8 million worth of logistics here.
Yeah,
I mean, huge. So,
huge.
what are those?
And I think I alluded to some before, like the motorbikes, the internet subscription, the website subscription. Yes, the establishing of the battery bank, and also vehicles will be provided, about 13 vehicles. For the first time in Liberia, the Disaster Management Agency will be having an ambulance. Will be having a water truck. And you see, in disaster,
You'll be having a water truck. So, what happens to the National Fire Service?
this is why the partnership comes.
Okay.
In disaster, a fire happens and the capacity of the fire, let's say, service is not available at that time. We can respond. That's why the NDMA is the first responder when it comes to disaster.
And still with disaster, Mr. Williams, I mean, this year, what has been recorded as the highest, number of disasters occurrence? What has been common?
Well, this year, and we have recorded almost 100,000 incidences of flood.
Just flood alone,
No, not
or disasters,
victims.
victims.
Victims of flood.
Okay.
And this have happened in counties such as Montserrado, Margibi, Bapulu, Bassa, Nimba, etc. Then we also have some incidences of fire. Almost about 2,000 persons were affected, and so floods and erosion carries the majority, or carries the highest number of victims.
But every year is flawed. Why are we not addressing this?
Well, you see, it's difficult. Even in the developed countries, it's very difficult because let me tell you something. This is why we're supposed to be prepared. This anticipation action that I'm just referring to, it needs to be really considered. And the NDMA, we may not be a fund generating entity, but I tell you what, disaster destroys development. So if disaster is not contained or is not, mitigation measures are not put together, if the capacity of the agency that takes care of disaster is
But
not
in this
strong,
plan, I didn't hear anything about mitigation.
mitigation is one of our activities that we look at in the absence of these hazards.
But it's not
So-
working. It's not working because every year you still face the same problem.
Can you compare, let's say, the progress that we are making, roughly Look at what is happening in Liberia.
No,
How we are
you've
continuing.
made progress in procuring some logistical support. Something that you and I we have talked about this
I'm not
for
talking.
some time.
I'm not talking.
Today you have 1.8
Roughly.
million worth of logistical support from UNOPS. So
Roughly.
I'm talking about mitigation, which I think the National Disaster Management Agency is yet to make progress report on mitigation.
Vastly, professionally, mitigation and prevention issues are the most difficult when we talk about. In fact, if we look at everything, disaster related, etc., mitigation, you have to put mechanisms in place, and this is what we are doing. We are using our DRR platform, we are getting to partners, but we are doing it with our capacity. You see, we are doing it with our capacity.
Now you come back to lack of adequate support.
Well,
it has been an everyday song for you.
But as we are saying, right now we are progressing. The baby can be born, and the baby needs to walk, etc. So now we are born before, and now we are walking, and from walking, we'll start to get into adulthood.
Okay.
A lot of things that we have done. If we look at this multi-hazard contingency plan. We have produced a DRR, a strategy, which all of these are record-breaking issues that have been tackled by the Disaster Management Agency of Liberia. If you look in the sub-region, most of what we have done have not been, even the bigger nations that we call them our big brothers, they have not done what Liberia have done. And if you look at the percentage of disasters happening in Liberia, it's minimum to the others. Because I tell you what, and looking at partners, even in the absence of disasters, as I said before, we have been planning. We have met the UNDP, highest authority, and we have met the UN resident coordinator, and we are all putting these plans together on how to help or how to mitigate disasters.
Is it now time to shift more focus on mitigation and trying to prevent and ensure that we don't face the same problem over and again?
Roughly,
what is the challenge? Is it that you are understaffed? Because I'm hearing that sometimes ago you asked the government to address the issue of understaffing and low budgetary support.
This is where we are now, roughly.
So the problem with the problem with mitigation and prevention, they are they dependent on understaffed and budget and low budgetary support?
They are dependent on capacity. If we don't have,
they seek support a partner in the area of capacity building.
If we don't have enough staff, right now we are procuring, or the unit is procuring the items that we need to use. They need to be operated by personnel of the NDMA. They are not there yet. We are supposed to extend in all of the counties, okay? Personnel-wise, we are not there yet. We opened or established a regional hub in Banga. Up to present, that hub is not being equipped personnel-wise. So,
how functional are your sub-offices in the counties?
Well, as I said, the first hub that we established in Banga is not functioning, let's say, personnel-wise. The structure is there, yes, it is equipped, but we don't have people to man that office.
Okay.
So, in fact, right now, what we are doing with the equipment that we have now, let's say by next week, we will be trying to really put a mechanism in place. Maybe we will start by using volunteers, but that is not sustainable when it comes to disaster. And we have items now that we need to use in the counties, in the hubs, etc. So, what we are really saying, I'll tell you what, I asked for the personnel strength of the Ghana NDMA
Mm.
And our number is about 1/3 of their
So
number.
you better off than them.
No,
Oh, or you low, very low than them.
very low, very low.
So what are you doing to address this?
We are, let's say, approaching the CSA, and we are approaching the Ministry of Finance, and even recently, we don't just sit. We are trying to approach the lawmakers so that they could see reason why. Because when the disasters are happening in all of the counties, as I said before.
Mm.
So we are all affected. So we are trying to alert, or let's say inform, like the Senate, that this is the problem. The government knows about the problem. The government is trying in their weak way. So we are even working or calling on private partners, because um, if you can recall, when the incident happened in Nimba, the landslide,
Yeah.
private partners supported the process, like Meter Steel, Abijade Supermarket, etc.
The death of the 28 children in Bassa Town
Oh, that
from the
was 40.
fire.
No, I'm talking about the one in Nimba. That
Yeah, I mean,
about 40.
I'm just
Yeah,
talking about these high class.
yeah, the high class. Okay, the one in Bassa Town, and which we
But it seems these incidents did not teach you any lesson.
Vafle. It's hard for disaster to teach lesson, because disaster happens when you are not even expecting.
No, no.
So
I mean, you should have knowledge of what happened, and you prepare for I mean against recurrence.
it is the preparation stage that I'm telling you now that at least we are better off now with the establishment of the EOC, okay?
Mm.
And we are also, let's say, fighting for the Met system that's supposed to be providing us with weather information, and the hydro system that's supposed to be giving us information on hydro issues,
Okay.
for them to be strengthened,
Okay.
because they are the one that will give us the information apart from our own employees that are going out. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Okay. Yeah. And your thought.
so if they are also strong and functional, obviously, disasters will really be taken care of. And also, the last time I said it, you know, let this awareness be that enjoying for a short time is not the answer to livelihood. People should be educated that certain areas, especially diverting of this water system, building of houses in waterways, that should be one of the key awareness that we should let people know.
Okay.
I said the last time that building in the waterways, building on the coastline is not for poor persons. It's very expensive. You have to have the funding, you have to have the capacity to build disaster resisting structures that will not be affected by floods or even by fire. So let the public know that certain areas should be a no-go area when it comes to construction.
Okay, if you just joined us, you're listening to the Super Morning Show on ELBC Radio. My guest this morning is the Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Mr. Henry O. Williams. Now, just before we take calls, Mr. Williams, in the absence of, you know, the plan, the logistical support, how were you managing?
Well, the first thing, let me say a very big thank you to my dedicated staff, okay? Because you have to be dedicated before you can be successful.
Mm.
We are little, but we are doing a whole lot, and I want to commend them for that. But and we have been having some support from the government,
Okay.
and I want to also refer to the political will of the President of the Republic of Liberia, President Weah. He has been very, very forthcoming when it comes to disaster. See the part he played in the Nimba issue, even when the one that happened in Town, he was there. The one that he have constructed some housing facilities for erosion victims in Liberia, and he is always involved. That is the key, the political interest, the political will. Even when disaster was raging, he formed a presidential disaster response committee and made sure that that committee was formed and operational. And this is how we managed to take care of victims that were seriously, seriously affected in the coastline, including the West Point and New Croton area. So that is a big pat on the back, because sometimes for issues or for issues to be seriously addressed, the political will
Must be there.
It's very, very key. And then with his influence, his presence, that lessens the suffering of the victims.
Okay.
That's a psychological something. So I really want to thank him for that. And for the final ministry, they have been doing their best, trying to support, but we ask that more be given.
Okay.
Because I tell you what, we might not be having a very serious disaster today, but, and I'm not praying for it, but it might happen. And when it happens, and we are not prepared.
Yeah, this is why we have climate change. Climate change is
You
the
see what?
unpredictability of the climate.
Fine. You see what climate change is doing now? So we want to be on record that we want to prevent, we want to mitigate, and we want to have good preparation mechanisms and response and recovery aspect put in place. But I tell you what, it is expensive.
Okay.
But we have to coordinate. We have to look for partners. And this is what I think we are doing now seriously.
Okay, you're listening to the Super Morning Show. You can now begin placing your calls to 0880-514-096, 0880-514-096, better still 0770-581886. We have the Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency. Let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Morning. What's your name?
I'm Bobby Addison calling from the capital building.
Let's hear you, Mr. Addison.
Thank you. Well, sir, as correspondent for Talking Drum Studio and Army Radio in Maryland and local counties, with my experience and also my background for community radio stations, I'd like to find out from your studio guests, what is the relationship with you and community radio stations across the country?
Okay.
Because you talk about awareness. So, do you have offices across the country?
Okay.
Because people in Maryland are listening to because they had disaster recently in Harbour City, and I believe they want to respond. They want a better response from you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Ishmael Adi James Prince calling Emory, and I'm calling you from Fuya, local county, Liberia.
Let's hear you, Ishmael.
Yeah, thank you so much to our studio guest this morning for your nice explanation. And then actually, disasters, like for us here, we live in the savannah land. Yet every year we can face from even our plantation. Every year they can be burning down. But one thing I want to understand, the fire service, I don't just know what the measure they are taking to actually reach us when the drought season comes. The drought season coming out, we are worried. Our creatures can die. No matter if they're able to control it, every year our food can burn. So actually, want them to actually put in place to help us with our living in the savannah land. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So call us on 077051886, 077051886, 080514096. Let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm remotely Kamal calling for Inuga community.
Let's hear you.
Yes, or they yes, people discourage people on the area of people deliberately creating within the waterway.
Mm.
Yes, we are a community, we are a public community. Where people deliberately look at the waterways and then build there. At the end of the day, the water will be diverted and then embarrassing all of them.
Okay.
I don't know why you take on that.
Okay. He will address that. Thank you. Thank you. We can take one more call, and John rejoin, uh, the executive director. Uh, Good morning. Morning.
Yeah, morning. How are you?
I'm fine. What's the name?
I'm Amara Kamara from Grand Fremont County.
Let's hear you, Amara.
Yes, thank you there, Federal Video there. Thank you so much. But I want to recommend the highway, all of the highways, so we should have fire service deploy all on the highway because sometimes tankers, fire catcher tanker and other vehicles, and there's no means to help them. So you should, I'm coming up with this to have as a recommendation to the video get there. So at least on all of the highway, if you recommend fire service in your depot to those ends. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams. You listened to the concerns. One specifically talked about, your relationship with community radio stations and whether you have functioning offices across the country.
Um, yeah, Bobby, thank you for those observations. But as I said before, we have been growing and we have done a lot. We have even conducted disaster management workshops for community radios, and I think that was done in Banga. And some of the major radio stations were involved. Concerning offices in the county, I related to that before. It is in our mandate to establish county offices, and we started by establishing a hub in Bangor. As I said, it's only the operational aspect that we are dealing with now, but we are now trying to be equipped to try to establish the offices. Like for instance, the equipments we are now getting that we got from UNEP by the Japan government, so that will help us to in our county operations. For Ishmael in Lofa, the fire service, of course, we have been working with them, but some of the questions can be answered by the
Fire service.
by the related agency, by fire service. They are also doing their best, but they will have to explain. For Camara in Omega, yes, you are supporting me when you said people should not be building in waterways, and I think let the public know, all of them that are hearing. As I said before, don't think that buying cheap land will benefit you. You will spend more than, it's more expensive. At the initial stage, fine. But at the end, you will suffer.
Okay.
So don't buy. In fact, as I said, sometimes look for your land in the rainy season too. Do not look for land sometime in the dry season, because in the dry season the area is okay, the area is nice, the sand is okay, but that area might be impermeable, and that area might cause problem to you.
Okay.
And also, if you don't have the capacity to relocate, that will be a problem. So, Camara, thank you. As for Amara, well, I think the fire service, they will be listening. And we also, I think that is a good suggestion. If the capacity is there, we also, if we have that capacity, if we can reach out that way, because as we'll be expanding in the counties, those will be some of the issues that we'll be looking at. So, Amara, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Edie, just finally your parting words.
Well, my parting words, first I want to, let's say, thank the Ministry of Finance with the assistance that they are giving, but we need more. And I also want to appreciate the involvement of the President Every time he's very concerned about that. And also international partners like the UN system and other partners that are helping. We also want to acknowledge the concern of the private sector, and we hope that they will do well. And also, finally, let me say that disaster cannot be handled by one agency or by one player. So I'm appealing to our partners, okay? Governmental partners, private partners, NGOs, academia, the civil society. They are all on this DRR platform. So I'm appealing to them every time that we call a meeting. This is very important. Please come to this meeting so that we can all bear the grunt, we can all decide, we can all strategize.
Okay.
So everybody is important. So even the press, we have gone so far, we have trained the press, we have even sent them internationally like the ERBC personnel, etc. So we are really going across, we are going around. We want to involve everybody. And this is a plea because seriously, as I said before, I think I will end with it, disasters can destroy development. If you don't take care of disaster, whatever you have built can be broken down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. He's the executive director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Mr. Henry Williams. He's been my first guest on the Super Morning Show this morning. My name is Vafle Kamara. Coming up very shortly is the U.S. Ambassador